Hello and welcome to Who Wore It Better, my review Raw and Smackdown back-to-back and try and figure out which show won for the week. Let's get right into it. Raw begins right away with a chamber qualifying match, Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt. This is a good match here. You know, these two have a lot of history together, very good chemistry in the past, from what we've seen them wrestle in the past, so I enjoyed the match here on Monday night. During the match, we see Woken Matt Hardy backstage watching the match on the monitor. We see two different angles. One is the way we've come to expect it lately, last couple of years, with the very awkward blocking of standing like this, and the monitor's like over here, and they have kind of like, they all cheat out. There was that, and then the next time we see it, it's like you actually see Matt looking at the monitor, like straight on. You see the back corner of the monitor. I'm like, oh my god, like the back of the TV. When's the last time they ever showed that? That was kind of like nice to see. That was a little throwback. I think with Matt Hardy as like crazy as the character is, either one of those could work. It's like Matt Hardy is so crazy being woken, he looks at TV the right way. Anyway, Roman kicks out of Sister Abby. Bray goes for it again, but he counters it, turns it into a spear to win the match and go on to fight in the Elimination Chamber matchup. After the match, Woken Matt appears in the ring to confront Bray. He hits the Twist of Fate, and they are clearly not done with this rivalry yet, but all I could think of from the end of this segment was, what can they do for a blow-off between these two that could even come close to the crazy shit Matt was doing on Impact Wrestling, Final Deletion, Deleted Decay, The Great War, etc. I guess they're supposed to be having a singles match between one half of the Revival and Finn Balor, but the Revival come out and say, no, we're tag team specialists, so we want a tag team match. So remember that phrasing, tag team specialists. It's very important for later on. So then you got Finn picking his partner for the night, Carl Anderson. So it's not quite the right alignment. Like if you were playing Supercard, like they wouldn't be compatible, so like you wouldn't get the enhanced stats. If anything, it would be the same. So then you've got Carl and Finn versus the Revival, and then Carl and Finn go over. You got Anderson with a plancha to dash on the outside, Finn with a coup de grace to Dawson, and Balor Club wins. So how fucked up is that? The fact that these guys who are self-proclaimed tag team specialists lose a match to guys who aren't even a real tag team. Cruiserweight time, as we have Tony Nese and Drew Gulak taking on Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. Over on commentary, they are joined by the new 205 Live GM, Drake Maverick, and they even mentioned, Cole even mentions on commentary, he's formerly known as Rockstar Spud, so that's kind of nice for them to mention that there. And by the way, Drake Maverick is doing a very excellent job promoting 205 Live on the WWE Network. This match was really cool for as short as it was. Gulak hits his lariat onto Cedric, and he takes this disgusting bump on his shoulder. I thought his shoulder might have just been turned to jelly after that impact, but he looks very good in this match. Does Cedric. He hits a big plunge onto Nese, hits Gulak with a beautiful lumbar check, so the faces win. Go watch 205 Live on the WWE Network. Drake Maverick told you so. GM Kurt Angle comes out to make some big announcements as it pertains to the women's division. First, he announces the entrance into the first ever women's Elimination Chamber match. He does have a minor stroke before he gets those words out, though, when he's on the microphone. He announces Bayley, Mandy Rose, Mickie James, Sonya Deville, and Sasha Banks as the other 5 women who are going to be taking on Alexa Bliss for the championship in that match. Kurt then declares that Nia Jax, who's not in the Chamber match, is going to be facing Asuka one-on-one at the Chamber pay-per-view, where if Nia Jax wins, she will be inserted into the women's title match at WrestleMania, making it a triple threat. And that kind of raises a lot of interesting kind of possibilities, because then what we have here, Alexa Bliss interrupts, and she complains that, as champion, she should be treated as an equal to Brock Lesnar and should not be having to defend her title in the Elimination Chamber, because Brock's not in the Chamber match for the men. And Angle says that he brings up the fact that Bliss has not defended her title since TLC in October. Then Bliss says, well, I don't make the matches, you do. And Angle just kind of goes like, whatever, lady, and just kind of basically confirms everything that Bliss is correctly complaining about. And I'm very torn about this, because I don't know what the hell they're doing with Alexa Bliss. Like, is Alexa hurt? Is that the reason she's barely wrestled since October? I feel like she's been wrestling less and less. Like, if she's hurt, then why are they keeping the belt on her? It seems ridiculous. Like, they could use that time to like put the belt on somebody else and have her, that other person be built up as like a credible heel. Say maybe Nia Jax. Maybe they should have pulled the trigger on her, beating Alexa Bliss for the title, and then she could be this dominant women's champion for months and months and months. Then Asuka takes her down at WrestleMania. Like, bingo bango, storybook ending right there. I don't know why they didn't do that, because right now Alexa Bliss is just like the most disappointing women's champion I can remember in some time. All I remember from her reign in the last year or so is that terrible feud with Bayley, and then the thing with Mickie James where she made a bunch of like old lady jokes, and that's pretty much it. So I don't know what the point is for her staying champion when she's barely wrestling at all, period, except for the Mixed Match Challenge thing, and defending her title even less. From there we go to one of my favorite matches of the night, Asuka versus Bayley one-on-one. There's a little interesting tiff, a little backstage segment between Bayley and Sasha Banks, where Bayley says she's confident she can beat Asuka because she knows she can beat Sasha. History has proven that. So this is a very competitive matchup here. Unlike the Sasha-Asuka match from last week, these two don't have to kill themselves or practically kill themselves themselves in order for the match to be compelling and interesting to watch. Asuka does win with the armbar at the end. And, you know, again, the weird thing with the Women's Elimination Chamber match is the fact you've got two of the competitors in that match have lost to Asuka in the last 2 weeks. And now, and also, so is the champion, Alexa Bliss. Yet Asuka and, I should say, Sasha and Bayley technically get chances at the Women's Championship before Asuka does, the woman who won the Royal Rumble match. Like, the whole way the women's hierarchy is kind of booked right now is kind of a cluster. We get another Elimination Chamber qualifying match as The Miz takes on Apollo Crews, and really, what a difference a year makes, or even at the very least 6 or 7 months makes, because around that time, I had pretty much written Apollo Crews off and thought, well, he's done, he's peaked, whatever. But no, this is a very competitive, dare I say, fun match to watch. I think, you know, like I said, with Titus O'Neil, the fact this Titus O'Neil thing, the worldwide thing with he and Titus and Dana Brooke is finally picking up steam, and like they're all kind of like hitting a groove now that we haven't seen from these folks in quite some time. So I would even dare say it's kind of reinvigorated all of them, because now they're doing something with purpose and it's actually kind of getting over. So yeah, I think it's working, and you know, seeing Apollo in this match was really cool. I mean, he of course lost via skull-crushing finale, so The Miz goes into the chamber match, but you know, there you go. Maybe there's something down the road for Titus Worldwide in the future, but like they do seem to be picking up steam here. I think that people might be complaining with The Miz winning because, oh, another pay-per-view where the IC belt is not being defended. But at the same time, though, it's like it's been defended a lot, like on Raw the last several months. So I wouldn't necessarily complain about that, because yeah, it's not being put on pay-per-view, but it is being, you know, it is there. It's not being ignored and pushed off to the side like, you know, other previous IC champions have done. At the top of the show, they advertised the Raw tag title match between The Bar and Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan, but there are a few twists and turns throughout the night before we get to that match, because Jason Jordan is still recovering from his like neck injury. They basically explained that the injury he sustained at the Rumble, where he got knocked loopy, wasn't a concussion thing like we all kind of thought. It was like a neck injury instead. So, but they had this bit with him and Seth backstage. Jason Jordan's like, I'm ready, and then, you know, a few minutes pass, then he's backstage and is, oh, I can't go. And Seth is all pissed, like, oh, what the hell? And then like Roman Reigns comes in as a replacement, and that happens very last minute. But like, why did you build this false hope of Jason Jordan being ready only to pull him again? If this health is an issue, why don't they just start off by saying, oh, I can't go, my neck, whatever? That seemed like a very unnecessary, gratuitous action between Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins there. So Roman Reigns is the replacement, and then near the end of the match, Jason Jordan does come out and like tries to help Seth and Roman, but he actually winds up getting the team disqualified when he starts fighting Cesaro and Sheamus when they try to bail. So Cesaro and Sheamus win by disqualification, and that means Seth can no longer challenge the tag titles anymore, which is probably for the best, because Seth has, whether it be his partner being Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, or Jason Jordan, has been fighting the bar for a very long time, since last summer. So probably the best for him to move on finally. After the match backstage, Seth is very mad at Jason for costing them the matchup, and then, you know, Kurt tells Jason to go home and rest up until you're cleared to compete, which turns out is going to be for in a very long time, because it turns out on Tuesday they announced that Jason Jordan had successful neck surgery. So the injury that we all heard about for weeks is, you know, confirmed and real, and so this was their way of writing him off, kind of just being like talked down to by Seth Rollins and Kurt Angle. It is kind of weird. It's unfortunate, first of all. Let's just get this out of the way. Jason Jordan being out for, you know, God knows how long, maybe up to a year, who knows, is very disappointing, because he is an incredible athlete, and he was, you know, for as much grief as I gave about this storyline where he's Kurt's biological son, he was finally starting to come into his role here and kind of be that cocky, entitled, you know, kind of oblivious heel thing that he was doing. He was doing that, starting to get that really well. He was just starting to get it, and then having it taken away like this really sucks, because now it's like, who knows where this is going to go. Like, they totally put this angle on hold now. What's Seth going to do going into WrestleMania now? What was Kurt's involvement going to be? There's a lot of kind of dangling threads now with Jason Jordan being gone, and it's very unfortunate as far as that goes. It's too bad that he has to be on the shelf for a considerable length of time. Hopefully he'll come back as good as he ever was, and because he's a great athlete, like I said, and I want to see where they're going to go with this in the future. Obviously now, any short-term ideas about Jason Jordan as Kurt's son is on the shelf, but, you know, hopefully he will come back and they'll try and resurrect this thing and keep things going. We then go to Nia Jax versus Vanessa Floyd, aka Savannah Stone, who I found out is legit 17 years old. She was born in the year 2000, which probably has to make her the youngest competitor in the history of Raw, because that's insane to me. The fact that like a 17-year-old is being used on television like that. Like, it's, you know, it happens. It's not exactly common, but it does happen where minors do train to wrestle, like at age 15 or 16. It varies, I think, in certain regions of the country, it's more acceptable for like 15-year-olds to start training to wrestle. But like, man, that is so young, especially if you're 17, not even young enough to buy cigarettes or vote, and you're getting called up to like be this job talent on Raw. That's really impressive. Even though she did nothing in the match except get beat up, that's still an incredible accomplishment for someone that young. I think she's only been in the business for less than a year, so kudos to you, Savannah Stone, for getting work here at your young age. Keep it up. But then Nia Jax has the lamest promo of all time against Asuka, where she says, "When I get done with you, you're not going to be the Empress of Tomorrow," giant eye roll, "you're going to be the Empress of Yesterday." Ooh. We get 2 women's matches in a row as Mickie James takes on Sonya Deville of Absolution. This was kind of a clunky match, kind of awkward at times, not a very pretty, fluid match. Earlier in the match, I think Sonya got kind of bopped in the nose, and she was just selling it for a long time. That probably just disoriented her and really threw her off her game, because there was a lot of like uncoordinated stuff for the whole rest of the match. And Mickie does get the surprise win over Sonya Deville. Absolution starts beating her down. Then all of a sudden Alexa Bliss comes out and pulls out Mickie James from the ring and saves her, and Mickey's looking muy confused. So the whole thing is this more manipulation on the part of Alexa Bliss? And the answer is yes, obviously. Yes, there's obviously manipulation here. Main event time, a triple threat match as John Cena and Elias and Braun Strowman face off, where the winner will enter the Elimination Chamber at number 6, the equivalent of entering the Rumble at number 30. Very good strategic move there. But how are they going to have a match like this when the field hasn't even completely been filled out yet? It's not very fair to the remaining people who are trying to get into the chamber match to not even get that chance. Anyway, Elias and Cena form a brief bond to try and take out Strowman early on. Elias hits him in the back with a guitar, then Braun walks into an AA onto the steel steps on the outside. It seemed very excessive and gratuitous, but then again, this is a man who has no sold a trash compactor, so I guess you got to get a little extreme. We want to take him out for a bit. Cena and Elias have a nice little exchange for a while. Strowman gets back in the ring, power slams Cena, but then Elias pushes Strowman out of the ring, pins Cena to win. So big win for Elias. This is like, I think, the best he's looked in a long time. And like I said, probably not going to win the chamber match, but the fact he qualified for it last week and had this big win here on Monday, I think is a really good look for him. Strowman slams Elias and Cena repeatedly after the match and stands tall. So in a way, you've really built 2 guys out of this one thing. Also, I thought it was funny, Cena was loudly calling spots in this post-match beatdown that Braun was doing. You just watch his mouth and me yelling and stuff. But yeah, no, Elias wins the match. Braun stands tall at the end. So really, you have 2 guys going over in one segment, getting the rub, basically off John Cena on one segment, which is great. Before I move on to Smackdown, this week's edition of Who Wore It Better is sponsored by SeatGeek, where you can get great deals on tickets to concerts, sporting events, WWE, you name it, with the SeatGeek app. If you want to save money on your next ticket purchase, download the SeatGeek app using the link in the description here for iOS or Android. Works for both. Go to the Accounts tab when you get the app, use the promo code WREGRET, and you'll get $20 back on your first ticket purchase. Smackdown begins with Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan in the ring. Shane reiterates that SmackDown Live listens to the fans. A big Rusev Day chant breaks out. That's important for later. Then Shane claims that Daniel is giving preferential treatment to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn all these last several weeks because he's accusing Daniel of living vicariously through them and wanting them to succeed because they had similar paths in the Indies and that Daniel's unable to wrestle, so he wants them to do well. And before Daniel can respond to that, AJ Styles interrupts and basically says, "Hey, when it comes to you guys obsessing over Kevin and Sami, why don't you cut it out?" Anyway, I'm glad to see they've resumed the tension between Shane and Daniel here at this point, because last week it seemed like it totally fell off the map. It just wasn't happening. I was afraid they just kiboshed the whole angle, but I'm assuming they just didn't do it last week due to time restrictions, and they brought it back here with a big vengeance here to open up SmackDown. The first match of the night is a non-title match between Charlotte and Liv Morgan of the Riot Squad, and the big storyline point the announcers just kept harping on over and over in the build to this, like in the lead before the segment, and then the match itself was, did Charlotte request this match by herself? Because there's only one of her and there's 3 Riot Squad members. Oh, that's just insanity. It's suicide. Not that it matters, because Ruby Riott and Sarah Logan got ejected near the end of the match, and then Charlotte wins, clean as a whistle with a figure 8. So what was the point of harping on that point? Because the numbers game didn't really play into things, and Charlotte just wins, gets her heat back from the beatdown last week. Okay, Cool. So last week there was a part of Smackdown where the Usos cut a promo, the Bludgeon Brothers came out and they kind of crossed paths, and then the Bludgeon Brothers squashed local talent. This week was the inverse of that, where you get the Bludgeon Brothers doing a squiggity squash on local talent. They walk out, the Usos walk in, and then the Usos cut a promo. And that was pretty much it. Good promo by the Usos, mind you, but still that was, it's like at this point, I'm asking, why don't the Bludgeon Brothers just challenge the Usos, just beat them down? I'm guessing maybe next week they're finally going to do that, but the whole 2 weeks in a row of similar kind of crossing ships in the night just seemed kind of weird. Then they intro this thing called the Smackdown Live Top 10 list, which I don't understand the point of at all. Because first they're like, okay, here's this list of wrestlers, and they're voted on by other people on SmackDown as to who they thought was the best, and they couldn't vote on themselves and whatever. And so the details of the list I'm not going to go into, but the fact that, for example, Ty Dillinger makes on the list because he's the number 10, but like Rusev and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn aren't on the list for some reason. I thought it was weird. But the big deal is, what's the point? What's the point of this list? Is it a ranking system to determine who's in line for title shots down the line? Like historically in wrestling, we've seen lots of top 10 rankings for championships, and if you're number one, that means you're the number one contender or whatever. But this is just some kind of arbitrary popularity list, so who gives a shit? They mentioned this point at the beginning of the show where Shane says SmackDown Live listens to its fans. Okay, then why do you introduce this countdown that is voted on allegedly by the wrestlers? So after that dumb thing, we get the US title match where Bob Roode defends against Rusev. This was a hard-fought competitive match. I enjoyed it a lot, but in my opinion, the wrong person won. Bobby Roode gets out of the accolade a couple of times and hits the glorious DDT to win the match and retain the championship. I know it's not the end of Roode's time as US champion yet, but at some point, sooner or later, they're going to have to pull the trigger on Rusev Day. Otherwise, it just feels like kind of a wasted opportunity. Anyway, after that match, Randy Orton comes in and RKOs everybody. Wyatt, can you handle this one for me?
Why?
We then go to Benjables versus the Ascension. It's part of Benjables' quest to bring prestige back to the SmackDown Tag Team division, but hey, there had to have been prestige first, Benjables. That's the key point there. It's a more competitive match than last week when they took on Breezango, but it's the same finish as the end where Benjables wins the double team maneuver, which I don't think they still given a name yet, and that's how the match ends. Main event time, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. The winner will face AJ Styles at Fastlane for the title. Sami's definitely being portrayed as kind of the default babyface here in this matchup because, Kevin in his pre-match promo is very dismissive of Sami, so I know I'm going to beat Sami. He needs to understand, he needs to get out of my way, that sort of thing. Whereas Sami is more like, this is my opportunity. Kevin's had his opportunity. Nobody knows Kevin better than I will, so I'm going to definitely try and win this thing and have my shot at WrestleMania. So yeah, definitely more of a sympathetic figure for Sami here. But it's a very good match. If you know what these guys have done, it's pretty much they're busting out their greatest hits in this match. It's refreshing because we haven't seen this in several months. It's been a while since we've seen these two wrestle, so it's kind of nice to see them wrestling again here. The match ends when Zayn is confronting AJ Styles as a commentary, and Zayn keeps getting in Styles' face, and Styles gets up and starts beating up both Zayn and Owens. The match ends in a DQ. Daniel Bryan comes out and announces it's going to be a triple threat match at Fastlane for the championship, which I kind of saw coming as the match was going on. But yeah, Styles has been, I feel like he's kind of been a dumb babyface champion lately because he put his foot in his mouth to get involved in the handicap match of the Rumble, and then he fights back on the outside and ends up booking himself into a triple threat match at Fastlane. And I know that was, he was provoked and everything, but still, it's like coupled with an authority figure who is vaguely corrupt in Daniel Bryan and another authority figure who has his own vendettas and problems in Shane McMahon. This is either a very subtly nuanced portrayal of the hierarchy on SmackDown, or it's just all a big mess. Take your pick. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. This was a tough one to get through because both shows to me were pretty lackluster in the grand scheme of things. It was hard for me to find reasons to really pick one over the other. I am going to go with SmackDown this week because I think the one thing I didn't like about SmackDown that really stuck in my craw was just the top 10 list and how silly it was and how unnecessary it was. Unless they keep going with this and it actually leads to things that are actually tangible, like title shots and stuff, that's fine. I don't want this to be a thing where it's like feuds are started over hey man, I'm number 8 and you're number 7. I don't like you, we're going to fight. That'd be stupid, in my opinion. So I hope that doesn't breed these ridiculous contrived feuds with each other over who should be ranked higher on the top 10. That seems kind of silly. I feel they could go with that though. With Raw though, I think, even though I think Raw had some exciting matches, I loved Asuka Bayley, I liked Roman Reigns and Bray, and I loved the main event. I think just what I'm seeing here is just this complete lack of logic, and just the order of the way they're going about things in both chamber matches is just wrong. The fact that they stacked the men's chamber match to have the winner of this match gets in last, even though the field's not even complete yet. That that was kind of weird. The fact that in the women's chamber match, you have two women who just lost to the automatic #1 contender, the one who won the Rumble, and they get a shot before she does. That makes absolutely no flipping sense. So yeah, kind of a coin flip for me this week. Neither show really blew me away, but in the end, I am going to defer to SmackDown because, hey, SmackDown's got Rusev Day, and that's all you need to know. Let me know what you guys thought about Raw and SmackDown this week in the comment section below, and be sure to vote which show you thought was better in the gimmick in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com, and check out Patreon.com/WrestlingWithRegret for exclusive perks and some bonus content, including my DDP yoga journey. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.